Thank you. I'm Professor Farooq Naeem. I'm a professor in University of Toronto, Department of Psychiatry, and a psychiatrist in Center for Addiction and Mental Health. Uh, this is a conversation on resilience and how CBT can help you with building resilience. I'm not going to give any detailed techniques. I'm basically just going to show you the link between CBT and building resilience. What is resilience? Resilience is your ability to cope with adversity, your ability to cope with difficulties in your life. And by definition, resilience is not an active state. So resilience is not there all the time. Resilience comes or shows up when you're going through some difficult times. In other words, you cannot build resilience directly. There's no formula to build resilience. Resilient people are uh, uh, those who have a lot of positive emotions. They have a meaning or purpose in their lives. They are aware of their emotions, and they are also people who have cognitive flexibility. They have high self-esteem. They have high problem-solving skills, and they're better able to cope with stress. And not just with stress, also with boredom, because um, I'm sure you know boredom is something that can cause to a lot of uh, problems, and not being able to cope with the boredom, especially in this day and age of uh, distraction in which we are living now these days. The other thing is persistence, but you see, persistence comes from the meaning in life. If you do believe, life has a meaning or a purpose, you are more likely to persist than someone who's not. Resilient people are also good at talking to themselves. They talk to themselves. They continue a dialogue with themselves, which simply means they are aware of their thought processes, excuse me, and their emotions. Finally, and most importantly, resilient people have some form of spiritual beliefs, uh, because we all know that there are times when your coping skills will fail, and that's the time when you'll need something that does not explain what's going on around in the world. So this is the main concept in resilience building. So resilience, as I said, is not uh, a trait, it's not a character. It comes up when you're going through difficult times. And we believe that the thing that you can develop is called self-efficacy. And as I mentioned earlier, people who have high levels of self-efficacy are also resilient. So that's something you need to keep in mind. Uh, sorry, it's not just really your ability to cope with hardship, but you see, resilience or self-efficacy is not something that comes automatically. This is something that you can develop. And self-efficacy has been linked with self-management of chronic disease, with smoking cessation, alcohol use, eating disorders, pain control, exercise, other healthy behaviors, and and coping with HIV. So there's a lot of research to show if you have high levels of self-efficacy, you're better able to cope not just with health problems, but generally with life problems. How where does it come from? Mainly, it comes from your experiences, because you see, self-efficacy is about your belief system. uh, it's about your belief in yourself. It's your faith in yourself. That is the basic concept of self-efficacy. And our beliefs come from our experience, what we see happens around us, usually during the childhood and early teenage, but also social preservation, and finally the physiological feedback, and and this all leads to a change in behavior and performance. This is 10 item resilience scale that I often uh, referred to. So if you look at it really, you'll see, excuse me, that this scale talks about your ability to adapt, your ability to deal with things. And in here, self-efficacy and resilience become very kind of close sort of concepts. But remember, so self-efficacy is your belief in yourself that can be developed, and that will lead to resilience. There's a simple kind of mechanism. A lot of interventions have been built to improve or increase resilience. Training programs have been developed and tested in a variety of clinical and non-clinical population. Actually, interestingly, when I searched literature some time ago, there are more resilience building programs for which are related to work resilience, and less so for the health problems, physical health problems, or mental health problems. Most of these programs have CBT, acceptance commitment therapy, mindfulness therapy, attention and interpretation therapy, problem solving therapy. Now, problem solving therapy is a very important component of these interventions to build self efficacy and ultimately self resilience, uh, because people who are resilient have better coping skills and better problem solving skills. And as I said, stress, uh, they're better able to deal with the stress, and therefore it's not surprising that many interventions actually address stress. Uh, so I'm going to just touch on this meaning and purpose in life, because that's outside the normal kind of thinking of CBT and other interventions. Not so much with spiritual kind of interventions, but yes, not the kind of concept we really think about in the West, or in the Western psychiatry or psychology, how to help people to develop a meaning or purpose in life. And it's very important because this is something that helps you carrying on in your life when you have a meaning and purpose in life. Being aware of your emotions is an important part of having a meaning in life. Uh, but the other components of CBT based interventions are cognitive flexibility. And I'll talk about this thing. Problem solving skills, I mentioned, are very important. Stress management skills are very important. So, how do you help people to improve their communication? Communication is an important part of stress management. And we talk about uh, passive aggressive communication, we talk about conflict management. So, teaching your clients or learning for yourself these skills is very important to be able to better uh, able to manage stress. Relaxation techniques, meditation, breathing, whatever you do. And I suggest, even as a health care professional, uh, you should try to develop these skills, because they'll go a long way in your life. Uh, Social skills training are very important. How do you interact with people? And here, a huge component of culture comes in. I'm not saying you need to develop the Western social skills training, but being aware of social skills is something that's very important, and does help with building resilience. Another thing is your ability to adapt, the ability to cope with change, to cope with boredom, to cope with stress. And I very often ask people to try to do something different, uh, if not daily, at least in a once in a week. And if you can't do it once a week, at least once a month, do something that is, excuse me, not a routine in your life. I am dependent on two, three GPS, one in my two on my mobile phones, one yeah, inbuilt GPS in my car, and an extra GPS in my car. So I every week when I'm working, I try to take a different route. My workplace is not very far from my home. It's like uh, 20 minutes, and through the downtown Toronto. I try to take that. I switch all the GPS systems and just try to use my navigation skills, which are terrible, and often I have to find my home through the GPS after the exercise. But that is my way of doing something different regularly. uh, the other things really are, your spirituality, religion, coping, and this is one positive aspect of religions that really we don't talk about. Especially the spirituality that can give you faith and hope and gratitude and bring on positive emotions. So how do you develop meaning and purpose in life? Okay, so you need to ask yourself questions. What sort of things make you happy or give you a sense of achievement or purpose? What do other people appreciate about you? What kind of symbol are you, if you like? And and by the way, it doesn't really need to be something higher that you're going to be the prime minister or the king or the head of the department. It can be a very small thing in life. Meaning and purpose can be just living uh, a happy life, helping others as a healthcare professional, for example. So it doesn't really have to be something grand. And the other questions you need to ask yourself are, who are your ideals or heroes? They give you a sense of what you're planning to do in your life. Our heroes are often uh, the the path we like to take in life. Or what do you do for joy? Do you, what kind of things make you happy? uh, what kind of things make you forget about pain and suffering? And that's a very important thing, because when you have a purpose and meaning in life, you do not worry. Think about all the exams that you have gone through, all the stresses of the training, and the mean trainers and mentors. So we all go through a lot of pain and suffering when we want to be a mental health professional, a nurse, or doctor, or social worker, or occupational therapist, or whatever you want to be. But you see, we go through a lot of pain and suffering, and we can do that because we have purpose and a meaning in life. So these are the important things really you need to think about. What makes you, what takes you, what actually can motivate you. Um, and this is actually, if you think about it, really is also it's very close to the modern concept of motivation. How do we develop motivation? You develop motivation by thinking about the purpose, isn't it? We think, okay, that's what we want to do, and that identifying that uh, uh, that uh, that destination uh, then motivates you. So motivation is the path, and meaning and purpose is the destination. Uh, I like this quote by Gandhi: "Your beliefs become your thoughts become your words become your actions become your habits become your values become your destiny." I think this is a great description of self efficacy and how to develop self efficacy. For me, it's a beautiful example of using cognitive therapy. So Gandhi is talking about thoughts and how they change into your actions and your behaviors, and then the values, our belief system. Okay, well, that's how we do things, don't we? So where does it come from? Where does self-efficacy come from? Uh, Mainly, it comes from mastery experiences, things, successful experiences. Uh, Whenever, and they don't have to be big kind of things, small, successful things. And that's why I often, when I'm trying to help people develop self-efficacy, I start with problem solving, because problem solving uh, helps you to understand that you need to experience small successes if you want big success. So we divide things in small steps, don't we, in problem solving, and that's because we are helping people to experience small level success before they experience the big success. uh, your observations of people around you. So that's why one of the things we do quite often is, when we help people to develop self-efficacy, we ask them to create the image. We use a lot of imagery work when we are helping people developing self-efficacy and improve motivation. So we ask them to use imagery or create the image of the success, what they want to be. Or on a simple scale, you ask them to put an image of who you want to be. You see this thing. We do this all the time. You see, uh, excuse me, young people uh, put the images or the pictures of their heroes, who they're not just people who they admire. They are people who they want to be. And actually, often it does work like that. If you have your room full of all the of some great footballers or cricketers or other players, it shows that that's where your heart is. Or uh, if you have, it's the same way. If you want to create, or if you want to have uh, motivation to become something else, it's not a bad idea to put the pictures of those who excel in the field in your bedroom or your workspace or whatever. Uh, the other thing we do is the verbal persuasion. By influential people in our lives, such as parents, teachers, managers, friends, who teach us what to do, and they kind of guide you. So that's another thing, really. I often suggest people to have a mentor. I mean, if you can have a lifelong mentor, you're very lucky. You can find some among your friends, especially those who are senior, who can be your mentors and advisors in your life. The emotional and physical states are very important, because you you do interpret the many emotional states through your through what's happening to your body. And then, as I mentioned earlier, emotional experience, or in other words, visualizing yourself as a successful person. And I mentioned, we use a lot of imagery to help people become more motivated or more self efficacious. This is where cognitive behavioral therapy can help people a lot, developing cognitive flexibility. What is cognitive flexibility? Well, cognitive flexibility is your ability to see more than one aspect of something. Simple as that. Because people who do not have cognitive flexibility get stuck on ideas. For them, it will be just my way or the highway. They will not be able to see other people's point of view. They might not be able to see, um, uh, uh, you know, other parts of the picture. And I often talk about the story of elephant and the six blind men, where the six blind men go to see an elephant, and each person touches a part of the body of elephant. They go home, and the person who touches the ears of the elephant says elephant is like a fan. The person who touches the body of the or the trunk of the elephant thinks or says elephant is like a wall. The person who touches the tail believes that elephant is like a rope. uh, they do not see the big picture because they do not have the cognitive flexibility. So, cognitive flexibility is being able to see all parts of uh, a picture, uh, being able to look at the bigger picture, look at the pros and the cons. Uh, this is where we use CBT to help people and helping them with their cognitions, which are based on their belief system. When you are changing uh, beliefs, you change cognitions, and then obviously the therapeutic techniques like identifying thoughts. We use thought diaries a lot, helping people to see uh, the different kind of thoughts they can have if, in response to an event, and then each thought lead to a different kind of emotion and different kind of behavior. Reality testing is an important part of cognitive flexibility. So we ask patients to look for the evidence for and against their cognitive errors, and then correct the distorted thinking patterns by uh, creating a balanced thought, which is the ultimate aim of CBT, to help people to develop balanced thoughts or alternative thoughts. Because that's the main kind of issue when people do not have cognitive flexibility. They are become stuck on one thought. It's very important to help people to see the alternatives. Okay, but overall, you help people to think and act more realistically and adaptively. Adaptation is all about being able to change yourself, isn't it? That's what adaptation is. How do you change your thinking style? How can you change your behavior? So all these kind of things really are can easily be done through cognitive behavior therapy. Um, oh yes, and just quickly to mention what are the cognitive errors or thinking errors which actually uh, lead to rigidity in people, and addressing these tools help people become more flexible in their thinking, which leads to, sorry, not just self-efficacy, but ultimately resilience when the time comes. And you, as I mentioned earlier, all these things are connected with your physical health. The common thinking errors are black and white. You don't see the gray areas. You think only things exist on two extremes. So you either have to win all the medals, or you're a failure. If you don't get, or your child does not get 100% marks in the school, that means your child is a failure. And um, then we have other types. Jumping to conclusion, first thought that comes to your mind becomes your conclusion. um, he looked at me in that way. Or you look at your partner talking to someone over the phone, you think, oh my god, he's talking to someone else. And that becomes your conclusion, without asking him or her, what were they doing, or were they talking to. Overgeneralization, you see one person doing one thing, and then you overgeneralize that. So they are all the same, okay? Or because you fail in something now, I'm always going to fail. Minimization and magnification, or making a mountain out of a molehill, or the opposite. So you do not think about the bigger picture. You get stuck on something small, or sorry, uh, you minimize your success and you magnify your failures. Uh, then we have personalization, very common in people who are being abused, because it's because of personalization. They blame themselves. Or another common example is, your uh, kid fails an exam and you say, "Oh, it's all my fault." You don't think about the rest of too many other factors. Catastrophization and selective abstraction, as is obvious. So selective abstraction, when you just focus on something that is uh, negative, and you ignore the positive things. And so these are the kind of means of cognitive errors. We help people to identify negative tools, help unhelpful behaviors, and how they can modify these tools and behaviors and beliefs. Now, by the way, CBT is not about promoting positive emotions. CBT is not positive psychology where you say, okay, something good about everything. We don't do that. CBT is mainly making looking at things in a more realistic way. So CBT is not positive emotions, it's not positive psychology, something to keep in mind. And that's the main thing, really. So, in short, resilience is your ability to deal with problems in life, small and large. And you develop resilience through self efficacy, because you can't develop self resilience directly, because your resilience is tested when you are going through difficult times. So the mechanism of developing resilience is through self efficacy, and cognitive behavioral therapy can be a very useful tool in helping people develop self efficacy. Thank you so much. And I'm grateful to the organizers for giving me this opportunity to talk about CBT and resilience. Thank you.